On this week's show, summer closures at PSNY for new 4K cameras, new discounts for military, teachers, and more.
Plus, Peloton plans to have 3 times as many events next year, longevity classes are on the way, and much, much more.
Welcome to Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. Here are your hosts, Amanda Siegel and John Pruitt.
Welcome to episode 223 of Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. I'm John Pruitt, and while Amanda is away, we are joined by none other than Pelo Buddy's own Chris Lewis. Hey, Chris.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Good to sit in while Amanda's out and about. And
I know. Long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
How was your week going?
It's going good. I've been managed to ride every day so far this week. And how about you?
I just getting over a little head cold, so I've definitely toned back the usual crazy routine that I'm normally accustomed to. Kind of listening to my body this week, so yeah, it's
not a bad thing.
Change up? No, not at all. Not at all. It's been a nice kind of change up, change of pace.
Nice. Well, easing into summer.
Yeah, it's getting hot here in Michigan.
Same here down in Atlanta.
Well, before we get into it, we always like to remind folks that listen and watch the show how they can get all the latest updates and news from Pelo Buddy. Of course, we're on all social media platforms, X, Instagram, Facebook. We doing anything on TikTok? I know you have a channel
we got an account, but it's been a minute or two, so it's not the most up to date over there.
And of course, pelobuddy.com is a great website for all the in-depth articles and resources.
And I will just throw out there is a newsletter. So if you don't want to check social media, there's actually a newsletter. You can subscribe and get daily or weekly updates of the articles. So if you just want it in your inbox, just check out the newsletter over there as well.
A little weekly roundup of all the news. Good to know. And of course, we're on all traditional podcast platforms. So if you want to listen to us while you're on the go, just search Pelo Buddy TV and you will find us there. So with that, why don't we get on with the show, Chris?
First, let's do a rundown of the latest Pelo news.
All right. Well, speaking of summer, Peloton has just announced some summer closures, which we're used to pretty much every year in that August timeframe. But this year is going to be a little bit more extensive, and for I don't want to say a better reason than usual, but an actual stated reason. Normally it's for pause and reflect and just for time off. This year, they're actually closing because they're going to be going in and installing 4K cameras in all the studios at Peloton Studios, New York. They're going to be doing this in all 4 of their main production studios over there. And all in, that's going to be about 30 different cameras they're going to be pulling and replacing with new 4K cameras. In addition, it sounds like they're going to be upgrading the system they're using there, so they're a little easy to reposition and move when they need to. So not only will that allow, new camera angles in some of the classes, but now that they're getting into some of the nutrition and other content they're trying to produce, that might allow them to record some of that in those production studios as well. In addition to that, while they're doing these closures, they're also going to be doing some upgrades to the plaza level areas to enhance the in-person studio experience. But in particular, they also called out that they're going to be doing some renovations to the showroom area that's upstairs. And this kind of makes sense that they're going to be sprucing that up a little bit, since the other showroom, the flagship showroom that was, 100 yards away across the lobby, is now closed. So you're going to have more people coming to this one. So, I think it was about a year ago that they actually did upgrades there. They used to have that little dip down in the floor for seating area that they leveled out. But it sounds like they're going to be doing another round of renovations there. But in order to support all this, we're going to have a little more extensive closures this summer. I'm going to read them out real quick here, but we have an article over in pelobuddy.com that you can go reference to get the full list if these random dates don't stick. But from July 10th to 13th, PSNY is closed with no live classes at all. They're going to be working on the cycling studio from July 14th to August 2nd. So that 3-week or so period, no live cycling classes at all. The Tread studio is going to be done about concurrently from July 18th to August 4th. So no live Tread classes from that time. And then once those two studios are done, they're going to swap to the strength studio and the yoga studio. So from August 5th to 23rd, there's no live strength or row classes from New York. And then from August 8th to 25th, there's going to be no live yoga, meditation, bar, or Pilates. And then outside of that, in addition, Peloton Studios London is going to be completely closed from August 11th through 17th. Now, that's a lot of time for some of these instructors to be off, but they are going to send some of the U.S. instructors over to London to teach classes. So far, they've teased that Cody, Emma, Robin, Olivia, Bex, and Nico will all be going over to London. And while they're there, they're going to be doing some special 2-for-1 classes. Specifically, they called out a Bex and Susie live outdoor class that they're going to be working on.
Nice.
With all this, they're also going to be doing a couple special summer initiatives. They're going to be doing what they call Member Moment Mondays, where they highlight community groups. They're going to do another 100 Days of Summer Streak Challenge. They're going to have a top songs of the summer countdown, and they're going to do more the Tea Time with Cody episodes. So lots of closures coming up. Like I said, we're kind of used to these every year, but it's a little more expensive this year. But it's to do, the camera upgrades and more on the studios this year.
Now, is it clear? So say the closure from July 10th to the 13th for, is that for the cycling studio?
That's everything at PSNY.
That's everything. So like from the 14th to the 18th, there's no members at all in the studio for any of the other studios that are open?
What day of the week is that? So
Monday, July 14th to Friday, July 18th. So I assume when they're working, they're not shuffling members into other studios that they're not working on, or are they?
I'm not sure. Yeah. And the one thing I forgot to mention, that they also said that Peloton Studios London will have a different schedule during this time period as well. I took it as they're kind of going to expand that a little bit to try to make up for the slots, but they haven't explicitly said what that changes in London are going to be yet.
And so, the 4K cameras, it's great we're getting updated technology, but for the Peloton hardware, we're not benefiting from that because we can't, it's not 4K capable. So basically anybody that's using the app or you're streaming from your TV is currently only benefiting from that, sharper resolution.
Yeah. I know they, every now and then they come out with different slight upgrades of, the screens. So you have to imagine that with the cost of 4K screens these days, like one of the next generations will be a 4K screen. So at some point that will be an option on the hardware. And usually, you do have the option to go back and do an upgrade of just the screen. They don't force it for a while, though, as we saw with the Generation 1 tablets, they did eventually do a forced upgrade of those. I don't think it'd be a situation where a 4K screen comes out and immediately everything else is deprecated. I think it would be
absolutely,
I think it'd be a while until that happened.
I would love an upgraded tablet for the original bike, just, for improved speakers and, like a faster Wi-Fi Ethernet card. As I'm sure lots of folks would. Well, hopefully this is just like a random tidbit, but I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed, in the cycling studio, when there's one camera angle, kind of like from the corner, whenever there's like some like heavy bass music, you can feel the camera shaking from that angle. So hopefully that's something they've already taken note of and it's fixed when they swap out that camera.
I know that they've, like, when they created the studios, they did a lot of like acoustic buffering
and insulation
in the floors and stuff.
And
they have done some small upgrades to cameras over the years, but given how long they're closed, like you said, hopefully this will be a more extensive one where they can work out some of those small tweaks that might have popped up that was never worth a full shutdown for it.
I think they're on top of it. All right. Well, moving on. So Peloton has recently announced a revamp of its special pricing program with updated discounts, pricing. It celebrates everyday heroes such as veterans, teachers, medical professions. Peloton has now said they'll be providing deeper discounts across both their app membership and hardware offers. The one thing that is not changing there is there's still no discount on the all access membership that you have to pay for to access all the content on any piece of Peloton hardware. So the new offers, like I said, they're available to teachers, military personnel, veterans, medical professionals, veterinarians. I remember a while back, that was something that people had asked for, and Peloton responded and, added veterinarians to be eligible for that. First responders. And this appears to just be in the U.S. Is that
correct,
accurate, Chris?
At this point,
for the U.S., as well as students that are 18 years or older. They are also eligible for app membership discounts. So the refresh program gives you price cuts on nearly every piece of Peloton hardware, along with some reduced rates for the two Peloton app subscription tiers, the App One and the App Plus. Previously, Peloton offered a $200 off hardware off the products as part of the program to many of these groups. But moving forward, they have set amounts based on the device, offering up to $600 off. One caveat is that students are not eligible for the hardware discounts, just the app discounts. So what those discounts are for the veterans, teachers, healthcare workers, on the original Peloton bike, you get $250 off a new bike, $150 off a refurbished original bike. For the Bike Plus, you get $500 off new, $350 off refurbished. On the Peloton Tread, you get $300 off that for a new tread. They don't sell a refurbished one. Peloton Tread Plus discount is $600 off. And then the Row is $300 off. And then for the app discounts, which teachers, military professionals, medical workers also can access the Peloton One app for $9.99 a month or $99 a year. And they can also access the Peloton App Plus subscription for $19.99 a month or $199 a year. And then for students that are eligible for the app discounting, they can get $6.99 a month or $75 a year for the App One tier, and $12.99 a month or $129 for the App Plus app tier subscription.
Yeah, we'll see. They've been talking about ways to increase their subscribers, so hopefully these additional discounts are probably a way for them to try to do that. So we'll see if anything comes from that in the next earnings call.
Yeah.
Speaking of the earnings call, this most recent one, CEO Peter Stern revealed that Peloton is aiming to increase the number of real-world events that Peloton is taking part at. This was when he was talking about meeting members in more places. That's things like being in Amazon, finding different ways to, the micro showrooms they're talking about. But he talked about a real world events being a big opportunity. And he said that we have set a goal for our content team of increasing the number of real life events we're in over the next year by 3x. Now, this could be a variety of things. This could be instructor meet and greets. This could be partnerships with marathons and events, because we've seen them with partnership with the New York Marathon, the London, Berlin. They partnership with Lululemon and YMCA for events, but they also do partnerships with Latinos runs and Latinas runs, where it's those organizations doing runs with no instructors. The one thing he didn't hint at either way is, people who've been around for a while who think of real world events go back to Homecoming and Peloton on Tour. He didn't give any hints on whether those initiatives might be coming back or not yet. But either way, it sounds like Peloton's going to be trying to get out there at different events and things around the world in the next year.
Nice. Well, Peloton appears to be gearing up finally for the return of free mode, which is a feature exclusive to the Tread Plus, with lots of signs pointing to new class content being recorded at Peloton Studios, New York. So for folks who aren't familiar, don't have a Tread Plus, free mode is a feature. It's a little button on the crossbar of the Tread Plus where you press that and it allows you to basically move the belt without any motor assistance. So basically it takes a lot more effort to move the belt along. So it gives you an extra challenge. So free mode, though, it's been absent from many Peloton programming and Tread classes since the Tread Plus was recalled back in May of 2021. So since then, no instructors have queued for any kind of free mode. And commonly Jess Sims would use it a lot when she used to have the Saturday 60 on Saturday mornings. And I know Rebecca Kennedy used to throw it in a lot when I would take running classes with her. But in early 2024, there were some signs that pointed to free mode eventually returning. So when Bex Gentry did an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, someone asked a question about it and she answered regarding the topic that it would return. But there was really no concrete updates up until now. But during a recent recording session at PSNY, the class queue in the studio displayed the wording extra 10 free mode run with instructor Matty Maggiacomo. So while the class hasn't been released to the library, it appears that the studio is actively recording to reintroduce some actual free mode classes. So in the past, we just had free mode. It would just be incorporated into a run. So there weren't actually dedicated classes that were labeled free mode. So this is kind of interesting that they're actually putting it out specifically free mode for, I guess, 10 minutes, which sounds just absolutely grueling.
I mean, I think it makes sense that they're going to start to label them now, because back until then, the baby tread, it kind of was still relatively new and there weren't a lot of them. But you had 3 years where the only tread for sale was the baby tread, the new tread. So I feel like numbers wise, there's probably a lot higher percentage of people now who don't even have the option to do free mode. So I think it makes sense to specifically label it so that anyone who has the not tread plus knows that I'm not going to be able to use the feature on this, so I might not want to do it. So I think it does kind of make sense with where they are at now to have it labeled specifically like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, speaking of new classes, it sounds like there are going to be some longevity classes coming out focused on healthy aging. When Peter Stern was giving his closing remarks on the investor call this week, he was telling investors to check out some of the new classes that were out. He said that in looking forward, try our new series, including Progressive Push for Cycling and Mobility and Strength for Longevity. Now, the Progressive Push for Cycling had just come out about a week or so ago, but there's nothing out there right now called Mobility and Strength for Longevity. So it seems like that's going to be a new collection and class series that's coming out very soon. Peloton has recently started getting into a more holistic approach about long-term health and functional fitness. They've got a health-centered collection. They're starting to get into nutrition. So longevity type focus seems like a next natural step for them. So it seems like that's going to be some classes that we're going to be seeing in the very near future on Peloton.
Nice. Well, Peloton has introduced another new class type this week called Stroller Walks. The Stroller Walks are a subset of the outdoor audio classes. So there's no video for these classes. They're audio only, intended to be taken outdoors. So for those who are curious, although they're outdoor classes, the instructors themselves record them at a studio at PSNY or PSL. So we got the first set of Stroller Walk classes that are themed around Mother's Day, which just recently happened last week on May 11th here in the US. So Peloton's marketing around the classes say they will bring a breath of fresh air to Mother's Day and every day, and will be featuring multitasking at its most adorable. So at launch, there are 3 Stroller Walk classes available, led by Emma Lovewell, Callie Gullickson, and Jermaine Johnson, which are all new parents in recent years. They range in time from 15 minutes to 30 minutes in duration. So what we have is Emma's got a 20-minute stroller walk that's dated May 11th. Callie Gullickson has a 30-minute stroller walk, and Jermaine has a 15-minute stroller walk. And Peloton describes them as whether you're pushing your stroller around the neighborhood or taking a few laps around the block, take this moment for yourself to move your body, get some fresh air, and feel accomplished. And they haven't clarified if they will create these on a regular basis or if they'll just instead be expected just kind of randomly and frequently around themed events like Mother's Day and Father's Day. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and speaking of Mother's Day, this past Sunday was Mother's Day, and as is normally the case, Peloton created a bunch of new classes specifically themed around Mother's Day. There were 15 total classes across most of the class types in English, Spanish, and German. Those 3 stroller walks were included in those, and then there were 12 other classes, and we have a full list of those on Pelo Buddy if you want to go see the list, or there's the Mother's Day collection you can check out on the platform as well.
Right. And Peloton featured motivational speaker and author Mel Robbins in a class this past weekend. So on Saturday, May 17th, Matty Maggiacomo's Walk and Talk had Mel Robbins in the studio and showcased Matty chatting with her as well. It occurred live at 2:30 in the afternoon with members from PSNY. Peloton is highlighting this as part of their Mental Health Awareness Month, saying, take a moment for your mental health in a special walk and talk with Matty, featuring very special guest Mel Robbins. Mel is currently on a book tour for her, the Let Them Theory book. The current U.S. part of that book tour just ended in New York City on Friday, May 16th. So the class happened the following day. But I know a lot of folks are, big fans of Mel Robbins. I know a lot of instructors like to share some of her little, snippets that she puts out in reels to their Instagram stories. So it seems like it was a pretty resounding positive feedback.
Yeah, I know Matty seemed pretty excited about that too. So
yeah, he was holding on to that secret. I know he's just waiting, to make the announcement.
Yep. Well, this week's artist series featured the group Beastie Boys. There were 4 classes in the series on Thursday. There was a class with Andy Spear, Jess King, Dennis Morton, and Alex Karwoski. So those are all available in the on-demand library if you want to go check out some classes with the Beastie Boys.
Very cool. I know, God, I remember Stephen Little, the Peloton bike instructor. I think the last Beastie Boys themed class I took was one of his.
Oh, that's been a minute.
And that's going back 2017 before his content was purged after his departure. But while we're on the topic of artist series, Peloton has added a bonus artist series this month in honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. On May 12th, Peloton released a single artist series class by singer and songwriter Janae Aiko. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but Peloton said, flow to the ethereal sounds of singer-songwriter Janae Aiko in a centering celebration of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month designed for your whole self. The one class in the series was a yoga flow taught by Aditi. It was released directly to the on-demand library, and it's 30 minutes. And this is the second artist series that's featuring this artist. Peloton also had a single class artist series showcasing them from May of 2020. And then moving right into this week at Peloton. So Peloton highlighted several classes that members can look forward to for the week of May 12th through the 18th in their weekly Instagram post. So first up, Mariana Fernandez taught a 90-minute long run on May 12th. That was live. The long run class type seems to be popping up more frequently. So Bex recently had a 60-minute outdoor long run on April 30th, and Jeffrey McEachern recently taught a 75-minute long run in German on April 8th. And then this past Wednesday, May 14th, the newest kettlebell class dropped on demand from Masal Arian. It's 20 minutes, kettlebell strength and conditioning class, and it is in English. And then also released on demand this past Wednesday, the 14th, we got a new 20-minute evening yoga flow and a 10-minute breathing meditation from Dennis Morton. And lastly, Leanne Hainsby, Aldis, had a 45-minute progressive push ride drop on demand on Wednesday, the 14th.
Nice. Well, we shared a couple weeks ago that Peloton was undergoing a restructuring in their marketing communications department. And with that, they were going to be looking for a chief communications officer, and they have already made that hire. Diana Kraus has been hired as the chief communication officer, and they will be starting on Monday, May 19th, and they will be reporting to new CEO Peter Stern. They have, Diana previously was senior vice president at Lesherman Hillard, who was a consulting firm. So yeah, Peloton has already made that hire of the chief communication officer. And as we shared before, previously their communication team had been led by people with titles of vice president or senior vice president, never a chief communication. So they've kind of elevated that to be in the executive suite.
C-suite. Yeah. Nice.
And then there was a bug over the last couple of weeks for people who use an Apple Watch. People may have noticed that if you're using an Apple Watch as a heart rate monitor with a Peloton hardware device, your calorie counts may have been different. On the watch, it would show you when you were done what you were expecting roughly, but on the hardware device itself, the calorie count there may have been up to double of what you were expecting. So for whatever reason, the counts for calories were not staying aligned. This week, Peloton notified members that they acknowledged the bug and they were looking at it. They hope to have a fix by the end of the week. And then on Thursday, they started rolling out that fix and pushing it to everyone's devices. So that should be resolved here, hopefully.
All right. Well, birthdays. We have a very special birthday. Matty Maggiacomo's birthday was this past Friday, May 16th. I know he taught at least 3 different classes. He had a 50-50 boot camp at 6:30 a.m. and then he had a hike and then an EDM run right after that. So I'm sure he was showered with love from all the studio members taking those classes. So happy birthday to Matty. Yeah. So let's move right into instructors in the news, Chris. First up, Peloton has teamed up with the RBC Brooklyn Half Marathon this year, and 3 instructors hosted a shakeout run ahead of the race. Logan Aldridge, Matty, and Rad Lopez led a group shakeout run this past Thursday, May 15th. The run was free to attend, but participants had to register ahead of time to reserve their spot. But before the run took off, there was a little motivational welcome, a 5-minute warm-up, and then the 3-mile shakeout run began at 6:30 in the evening from the Brooklyn Bridge Pier 2. It was guided by the instructors and some other ambassadors for the half marathon. There were some photo ops with the instructors, obviously, after the run as well. And one thing to note, if you bring proof of your 2025 RBC Brooklyn Half Marathon race sign up, like say an email confirmation to PSNY, you can get a 20% discount on all Peloton apparel at the showroom within the studio at Peloton Studios, New York. And then also, while we're talking about the Brooklyn Half Marathon, there's also a giveaway for the 2026 RBC Brooklyn Half Marathon next year. The deadline to enter it is this evening, Sunday, May 18th, 11:59 p.m. You have to enter it by. But a total of 2 packages will be awarded. And what they consist of is a 1-year Peloton App One membership, a 1-year NYRR membership, and this one's nice, an exclusive tread class for you and 2 friends, a race kit, and entry to the 2026 RBC Brooklyn Half Marathon. It's open to legal residents of the U.S. And D.C., and you have to be 18 or older to enter. And winners will be selected in a random drawing on or about June 2nd.
And we've got an article over on Pelo Buddy that has the link that you can, so check out that article, and it has a link for the giveaway website. So check that out today if you're interested. And then speaking of those stroller classes that were new this past week, Peloton actually ended up hosting a real-world stroller walk with Callie Gullickson in Jupiter, Florida. The event was this past Friday, May 16th, at Harborside Place in Jupiter. And Callie hosted a stroller walk. It was a special stroller-friendly fitness walk that combines movement, connection, and sunshine. So that took place on Friday. Jupiter is just north of Florida, and several instructors are actually in Florida this weekend down in Miami because the Lululemon 10K event is taking place. Callie had previously shared that she was going to be at that event, so I guess they tacked this event on a little bit earlier. We had previously shared that yesterday on Saturday, or maybe it was Saturday, both Aditi and Chelsea were teaching yoga classes in Miami at one of the hotels there. And then on Sunday, Adrian was being one of the pacers for the 10K itself. So lots of and all of these most of these instructors are Lululemon ambassadors. So, this is a Lululemon event. So the team is getting out there and supporting this Lululemon 10K, which was in Miami this weekend. And then speaking of real world events, Peloton held their next London Outdoor Run Club event. And again, there's two different things called Outdoor Run Club. In London, they're actual events where you go do a group run outdoors. Most of the time when Peloton says Outdoor Run Club, they're talking about the audio class on the app, which is recorded Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. So two different things with the same name. But this one is the group outdoor run in London. It's taking place on May 21st. And this one will have instructors Jocelyn Thompson-Rule and Bradley Rose out there running with you. So RSVPs are still available. It's free. So if you want to go run with those instructors in London, you can do that on Wednesday, May 21st.
I love that. Well, Jess Sims will be at Uncle Bobby's Coffee and Books in Philadelphia coming up on Friday, May 23rd to have a conversation with WNBA All-Star Dawn Staley for the release of her new book, Uncommon Favor. Tickets, you can purchase tickets to it for $36 through Eventbrite. And a little bit about the book and Dawn Staley. She shares her inspiring life story. She is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 6-time WNBA All-Star, and the first person to win the Naismith College Player of the Year award as both a player and coach. Staley has shattered expectations at every level of the game. While her name resonates with both longtime WNBA fans and newcomers, she has, for the most part, kept her personal life very private up until now. So the book, Uncommon Favor, reveals the journey that led her to success, including the challenges she faced along the way, from dealing with sexism on the court to feeling isolated in new environments.
Nice. Well, Kira Michelle is starting her own newsletter, so you can go to kiramichelle.com and sign up for that. It's called the Wellness Rebellion newsletter. And she advertises it as where wellness meets rebellion. Get yoga tips, music, book recs, soulful tools, and honest reflections straight from my heart to your inbox. So if you want to hear more from Kira, you can go sign up for her newsletter over on our website.
Right. Well, Adrian Williams is a brand ambassador for car company BMW. In an Instagram post last week, he shared, "I couldn't be more excited to join the BMW family as an official brand ambassador, driving excellence, innovation, and passion every mile of the way. Excited to share my passion for automobiles with you all. Great things coming with this one." And this one totally tracks because he's very into his I think he has an M3 or an M5. Might be an M3, but it's heavily modified. He goes to a lot of meetups.
He's posted about it all the time before as well. It's not out of the blue that he made this post either.
No, and it makes, when he announced a while back that he was going to be, he was a brand ambassador for Hyundai's EV, I was like, okay, it's a little off brand considering, he likes, the gas BMW. But yeah, he had recently posted, I guess he had to take his BMW to get inspected recently in New York City, and he wasn't sure if he was going to pass inspection. And then apparently his engine is supercharged, so he has to roll back that programming in order for the OBD, the onboard computer, to be read and to pass inspection. So I don't know, apparently a lot of people were asking, the result of that inspection. So he shared that update shortly after. All right, so that's instructors in the news. Head right into picks of the week. Chris, you want me to kick it off?
Sounds great.
All right, so first up, Asal Arian's 15-minute K-pop upper body strength, which is in German, for May 8th. Armajar 3 said great burner of a workout with good tunes too. And then Kira Michelle's 20-minute Teddy Swims yoga flow, also from the 8th. Armajar 3 gave us that one. She said she was clearly a big fan of his music and it was so much fun. And then Ash Pryor's 30-minute Teddy Swims row, also from the 8th. Bertha C. Runs MD said, so fun. She told personal stories and weaved it into his music, and the row flowed perfectly.
Then we have Hannah Corbin and her 30-minute bar sculpt class from the 9th at 9:30. This came from Almajar 3, who said, loving the enhanced bar format classes. Then we have Alex Karwoski and his 20-minute pop punk run, also from the 9th at 3:30 p.m. This came from Life Unboxed 365, who said, great playlist and theme from Alex as always. And then we have Alex Toussaint in his 30-minute 80s ride from the 10th at 2 p.m. This came from Rachel Spins 24, who said, this didn't have any Tabata, but it still had hard intervals and great energy.
Nice. Moving on, Matty Maggiacomo's 45-minute hike from May 10th. Christina Akay said, such a hard class, but so much fun. And then Dennis Morton's 30-minute 2000s ride from the 10th. Just Dance Lisa and Franny L1 said, I thought this was one of his best classes in general. Great energy in this class too. And then Callie Gullickson's 20-minute Mother's Day arms and shoulders strength from the 11th. Recrown said she had such great energy and realness in this class.
And then Charlotte Wiedenbach's 30-minute Mother's Day Rockstalgia ride, which was in German from the 11th. This came from Amajar 3, who said fun rock songs about moms in this one. Then Kirsten Ferguson in her 30-minute Mother's Day walk from the 11th. This came from Go Amy Go, who said, I lost my mom in 2021, and this class just meant a lot to me with the Mother's Day theme. Then we have Benny Adami in his 45-minute progressive push class, which was in German from the 11th. This came from both Just Dance Lisa and Amajar 3, who said, great music and enjoying the new progressive push class type.
All right, next up, Allie loves 30-minute feel-good ride from the 11th. Lindsay T. Gamble, Love Squad Peloton, said, great ride for Mother's Day. She was always making you think and feel good. And then Anna Greenberg's 30-minute Mother's Day yoga and Pilates from the 11th. Armature 3 said this was her unhinged and explicit class, and it was a hoot. And then Jess King's 30-minute Mother's Day walk plus run from the 11th. Gwen Gets To said full of energy and a fun playlist. Fun to see her family too.
Then we have a Dee Dee Shaw and her 30-minute Jean Aiko slow yoga flow, which was that artist series class from the 12th. This came from Gwen Gets To, who said a lovely slow-paced flow with some great stretches. Then we have Jess Sims and her 30-minute mental health full body strength class from the 12th. This came from Ree Crown, who said such a positive and encouraging class. Then we have Christine and her 30-minute climb ride from the 12th. This came from Rachel Johnke, who said the team from one of Christine's workshops was riding together for this one, which made it extra special.
All right, Mariana Fernandez's 90-minute long run from the 12th. Dr. Devon, Bertha C. Runs MD, Rachel Spins 24, and Zook 26.2 said, have never done 90 minutes on the tread and expected all endurance / easy pace, and honestly expected to be bored, but Mariana's coaching and class plan was super engaging. Base pace was actually mostly moderate, and there were selections of progression, runs, and HIIT. Felt strong and accomplished afterwards. And then going over to the bike, Camila Ramon's 30-minute groove ride, which was in Spanish from the 12th. Just Dance Lisa said, so much great choreography in this class. And then rounding out the picks this week, Matt Wilper's 5-minute pre-run warm-up from the 12th. Mike Rides to Edge 2 said, always good to have more stretches to add to the rotation.
Great. Well, I guess that wraps up the show this week. Yeah, thanks.
It was a quick one.
It was, I guess.
I mean, I thought there was a lot to cover, but
yeah,
and powered through.
There's going to be a couple more tidbits coming out in the next week or two. Like, there was a lot of stuff from the earnings call this past week, and, it takes a minute to go through them and get all that out there. So there's going to be a couple more tidbits from that. But yeah.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me sit in this week and, sharing the news with you.
Hey, it's your show. I'm just here to spread the gospel in the news.
Well, I guess that does it. And for me here in Atlanta, thanks for listening, and we'll see everyone next time.
And for me in Michigan, thank you for tuning in, watching, and listening. And as always, we will see you on the leaderboard. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching Pelo Buddy TV, your source for everything Peloton, by the community, for the community. Work out with us using the Pelo Buddy TV leaderboard tag, and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Pelo Buddy. Don't forget that we have a podcast available so that you can listen to us while on the move. Just search for Pelo Buddy TV on any major platform and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode.